Already here, already here, already here. The Russians aren't coming, they're already here. They have studied our culture from the days when Russian was seen as old school, when the Soviet was the rallying cry for a totalitarian, paranoid state of decidedly mongrel heritage, a state and a people that feared one thing above all else, above extinction, beyond enslavement or assimilation. What the Russians feared was exposure. Exposure of their land is uncultured, unreasoned, certainly inferior, with a roulette system more treacherous than most. For centuries, the world has known that first Russians, then Soviets, and now once again Russians, the tiny-minded and insecure populace of a land so vast that it spreads over a dozen time zones, has been ruled by their inherent, ingrained, inconsolable certainty of their inferiority. Russians know their only chance on the world stage lies in deriding other cultures, bullying any who dare challenge them in their hierarchy of self-described, caste-free state. Oh, the irony! Russia, in a rush to judgment, has declared internally an X that the rule of law centered on one overriding theme: conform or be cast out. The straitjacket of conformity had first been fashioned for Soviets who were taught prenatally Soviet history, Soviet values, and Soviet rule. The demise of the USSR has no more killed Soviet education than their downfall has toppled the oligarchs that know peasants when they see them. Out with the Soviets, in with the Russians, but Soviet education remains, and the goal of Mother Russia is global Balkanization. In Soviet land, any who differ or disagree with tribe are evil and in need of extermination. Can you hear them chipping away at institutions that promote peace, liberty, tolerance, and equality? Russian society is hierarchical and predatory, and lesser beings are here for the consumption of their superiors. Equality with lesser beings? Yet, never. And of course, all other are lesser beings. And of course, it's not just Russia. The spread of Soviet Russian values is seen in fringe groups. Groups that see the world as us versus them. Groups that were easiest for Russian in all stripes and flavors to infiltrate, as they already had an inherently Russian perspective. A Soviet belief that they were true men, while others were inferior. War, whether declared or guerrilla, was desired to purge the world of the wrong kind of people. And the twins, violence and genocide, are both inevitable and desirable. Oh, how the weak fell in line. It is said that love trumps hate, but under the deft manipulations of the Russian puppet master splinter groups, Americans whose unifying force is hatred of other, splintered again and again until we are left with a world of hate where purge seems unavoidable. Oh, the smiles the Russians are putting on their faces. Slowly, the Russians become more wily, more manipulative as they lead us to the tipping point, a point where chaos and hatred rule. Is there time left where we can stop luxuriating in hatred and judgment and pitting us against them? Can we embrace diversity? Can we learn to think rather than hate? We're poised on the precipice. Destruction looms and we must choose our fate. World leaders see that humans as humans, that no equality and civility are cornerstones, are needed, but in seemingly near non-existent supply. Pander to the base, pander to the base, pander to the base. Are we so base that we must be pandered to? Do we want leaders that are oligarchs, tyrants, manipulators of fact to fiction? Can you hear the Russians laughing? Those that want us to fight one another? They rejoice in our trigger-happy hatred, our imminent implosion, our revolution in need of a spark. Divide and conquer? Hardly new. To see us as splinter groups is to splinter us. To give in to intolerance is a forfeiture of greatness. It's not just the Russians, it's us. We must stop bathing in cesspool. Stop preaching MAGA America filth. Stop demanding something for nothing of our country and try to understand one another instead of deriding, condemning, and belittling. I got mine, fuck you guys, as a loser's mantra. We can fight the darkness with rainbow bright to split the night. Welcome to the world we created. A world that looks out for number one while spreading number two. It's not too late to listen. It's not too late to spark a light. But if we fail, I fear we're headed for a darkness that shall reign 1,000 years. The Russians are here, and we're them.